The following is a presentation of Appalachian State University.
Third place architecture, third place entertainment, second place communications, first place hot water, plus winner of the coveted People's Choice Award. Students from Appalachian designed and built this affordable net zero energy home for the U.S. Department of Energy's 2011 Soul Decathlon. Their entry performed extremely well against 19 teams from around the world. We'll meet two innovators behind Appalachian's award-winning solar homestead coming up on Appalachian Perspective. Welcome to Appalachian Perspective. My guests today are Mr. Dave Lee and Dr. Jamie Russell from Appalachian Soul Decathlon team. Welcome both of you.
Thank you.
Good to have you here. We sat here a little over a year ago in the planning stage talking about it coming, being honored that Appalachian was even included, and now you've brought home lots of trophies, a lot of things to be proud of here. So I want to talk to you about the project itself and what it was like, but first a little bit about you. So Dr. Jamie Russell, a little bit about your background.
Well, I am a South Carolina native. Don't hold that against me. I graduated from Clemson undergraduate and then went to the University of South Carolina for graduate school. Worked in the glass industry for about 7 or 8 years and decided I didn't want to move to Toledo, Ohio, so I went back to, that's when I went back to graduate school. And then worked in Ireland for a few years as a research fellow in Ireland, the University of Ulster. That was a really nice way to spend time after grad school. And then ended up coming back, moving to Northern California, always working in renewable energy and buildings. And worked at Humboldt State University for a few years and decided that was too far away from home. And so ended up coming back to this area. It wasn't job hunting, but saw a friend sent a posting for Appalachian State, and I've been here ever since and very happy to be here.
I'm glad that you're here too. Dave, what about you?
Yeah, I grew up in Yorktown, Virginia, and did my undergraduate at the University of Virginia, as you spent some time there as well. After that, I spent 2 years in Utah and kind of got into the green movement out there and realized that I needed a little bit more education in the fields of renewable energy and energy efficiency. So I looked for schools and found the amazing program here at Appalachian State in appropriate technology and applied, and I've been doing my master's in appropriate technology and building science for the past two and a half years now in the Department of Technology and Environmental Design, and it has been the most wonderful educational experience I ever could have imagined. So
Great.
yeah.
Well, last year we talked about planning and working and getting ready for it, but now you've done it. You've been there to Washington. You brought back all these trophies here, a lot to be proud of, but talk about the process. When you got to Washington, was it what you expected? Was it different? What?
Yeah, it was quite a surreal experience, and to be honest, we were so busy going into the decathlon and setting up for the decathlon, we didn't have time to really let it sink in. But once we finished the house, we all got a good night's sleep and woke up the next day and really took time to look at the houses around us and how amazing it was just that we were there. And you know, I've said it a lot of times that we were proud just to be in the decathlon, but right at that moment when you see what we've accomplished and what we've set up on the National Mall, I think we all truly felt it more passionately than ever that we had done something amazing even before the contest had begun.
You designed, and you, the students, Jamie, under your leadership and other faculty members, you built it as well. But I understand, because I had the chance to go to Washington, that all the teams didn't build their projects. That you actually built every nail, every board, and the other teams didn't do that. Is that true?
One of our ideas from the very beginning was to do as much by students as possible, and from putting in the wall insulation and putting the wall systems together to the HVAC and the plumbing and the electrical wiring and even the photovoltaic systems, we wanted to do it ourselves. Mostly because we wanted to see that we could do it, and we wanted to have the educational experience of doing it ourselves. And I think we gained a lot from that. I know different teams had different strategies, whether they used contractors or whether they did it themselves. But I think us taking this really aggressive, as much student work as possible approach really paid off in the end, both on an individual and team level.
One thing I noticed in 2009, we went on a scouting trip, And as you walk through the house, you would ask questions and just trying to find out how the project went together and what is this innovative feature. And oftentimes the students weren't, they really didn't know exactly. They may have one special area, but they would have to go ask somebody else, or maybe nobody who was touring you that day would know the answer. And the one thing I heard over and over again as people left our house is your students are so passionate, they're so knowledgeable. When they gave us a tour, they knew everything about every aspect of the house. And I really think that shows through because the students built every piece themselves. And so, of course, they knew every piece by heart.
Inside and out.
Yeah. And when I was there also, I heard that others were coming asking you for, how do we put this together? So you had to take the house built here, take it apart, transport it, right? And reassemble it.
Correct. We built our house, and we were modular in our design, so we wouldn't have to build as much on the National Mall. And our house split into 3 different sections, and our great porch split up into 7 different sections. And we drove all of that to the National Mall and assembled it. And pretty much the only thing with the assembly that we didn't do was drive it up there. We had contractors drive it up, but we pushed them together. We made all the connections between the buildings, and during our construction process, we had a bunch of tools and experience that we were able to loan out to some of the other teams in their setup. And there's a real sense of camaraderie, especially there in the beginning. Because we're all working to get set up in a very short period of time.
Right. Now it's a solar decathlon, but tell me about the sun that you got in Washington, or that you didn't get.
Well, I think it has to be on record. They haven't posted this, the DOE hasn't said this, but it's been the wettest. It was the wettest solar decathlon ever. I think out of the days of competition, the 8 days of competition, we had a total of really about a day and a half of full sun. And that really, if you look at the energy balance scores, that really hurt a lot of teams, us included. People were making decisions to turn off air conditioning, turn off refrigerators and freezers, just so they could have a chance to, when the sun did finally come, to pull out of the hole. And it really did dampen the spirits. But the sun did come out for the last day and a half of the competition, and it really provided a nice finish. So it was a very wet. If we had had micro hydro turbines in our gutters, we probably would have made more power.
And I think it's important to point out that we did a lot of work educating the public too, because people kind of thought that it was cloudy, and so our house was shut down because of that. But it was really just the guidelines of the competition. Our house was net metered, so we pulled off the grid when we needed electricity, just like you do at your home, and then we produced electricity that went back into the grid. So we had to take a different approach than you would if this house were set up to live in. You wouldn't have never shut down your refrigerator or your heating and cooling just because you had a cloudy day. So,
and to the credit of the systems that the students built, even with that little bit of sun, and you'd never have this ratio over the course of a whole year. If normally the house has to perform over a full year, and this was just under 2 weeks. But to the credit of the house, it did pull it pulled itself out of the hole almost a half of the energy it used. Several houses, several of our competitors who had larger arrays and who started turning off systems a little bit sooner than we did. 4 of them actually broke even or made extra power. So it really was a testament to the power of PV.
Several people have been out to see it. It's back in Boone now. You have it back, and you've reassembled it rather quickly, hoping for prestigious guests to be coming through. And some did come through and got to see it. And one person, I saw her architect last night at an event on campus, and he said, I'm going out. I've been told I've got to go out and see it because I'm designing a house, and they want to incorporate some of the things that are in the solar decathlon home that's there. What's in there that just a person can put in their own home? What can I learn from a house for myself?
Yeah, we included a lot of technologies that people can incorporate into existing, homes and to new construction. And especially in economic times like right now, when there's not that much new construction on, making sure that we appeal to people who want to be more efficient, who want to have renewable energy, was something that we've done since the beginning. So we use very efficient appliances that is easy to plug into an existing home, from our Energy Star refrigerator and cooktop and dishwasher to our mini split heating and cooling system. That was very easy. And then additionally, we have these ohms, these outbuilding modules, which are really a big hit, and they made up our great porch. And these are built on 8 by 16-foot trailers, and it has the photovoltaic canopy that produces electricity. It has a closet for storing all kinds of stuff, your gardening equipment or your tools. And it's built on a trailer that you can add on to any existing home, and you can plug that right into the electrical box of your house. And I think that's an easy way that people could incorporate renewable energy to existing structures.
One of the really nice features of the OHMs, these outbuilding module trailers, they do have a flat roof, so they can line up. You can start off small and get as many as you want. It makes a fantastic outdoor living space as they come together. The panels, they're bifacial, so you see light coming through. They have this really nice dapple light effect, and you get light bouncing off the deck and giving more energy from the back of the panels as well, up to 30% more energy. But all of the equipment that runs the panels, the inverters, and all of this associated equipment is built into the trailer. And so you don't have to worry about taking up space in your house. If you have a closet that's already crowded, you don't have to worry about where's all this equipment that converts the energy from DC to AC. Where do I put it? It's all built in. So all you have to have is an extra breaker in your panel board and run a wire, and you're done.
Yeah, it's fully self-contained. So I think that really appealed to the people who came through and toured the house, and they saw how they could apply that to their own lives. And I think a lot of other houses didn't have that. So I think that was one of our strong points. There's
some other really innovative systems that could be applied to an existing building as well, such as our Trom Wall, our phase change material Trom Wall, which is it looks like a vertical blind system, like a large vertical blind system. So it provides privacy, it still provides daylight, but in the shoulder seasons you can absorb the nice sunny afternoon sun and release that into the house at night in a very controlled fashion. And also our solar thermal storage. It's a latent energy storage device. Again, it has phase change materials. You end up with a box that has about 50 gallons of phase change material in it, but it's the equivalent of a 150-gallon hot water tank. So it's much more compact than your traditional hot water heater, and very efficient, very effective. You saw we were #1 in hot water draws, which is fantastic.
Yeah. Talk about these awards a little bit. #1 in the hot water, the communication award.
Yeah, well, the communications contest looked at a lot of different facets of the competition. They looked at our website, they looked at our signage, they looked at how well we did our tours with the judges and with the public, and really kind of took a holistic approach to how well we were educating people about the technologies we employed and why we employed them. So we came in second place, and I'm quite proud of how well we did that, and we got amazing feedback and comments from both the jurors, from the organizers, and from the public on how great our tours were, which is really, the mission of the decathlon is to get the word out there and make it easy for people to understand. We additionally got third place in architecture, which is a fantastic accolade, and even more fantastic when you think that most of the schools we were competing with were architecture schools. Right. So with no official architecture program here at Appalachian, that's extremely impressive. Yeah.
And under communication, is that where the hats came? Because they were a hit.
The hats.
You are part of the solution.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of our viewers have probably seen these reflective hats.
We forgot to bring some. We should really have some to show off right now.
Yeah, but these reflective hats were a great idea because it allows people to get involved with the renewable energy. As Jamie mentioned, the bifacial canopy collects light from the top and from below. So when guests were touring the solar homestead, they wear these reflective hats. They're reflecting light up to the canopy or helping us produce more electricity. And then the hats would unfold into these 18 by 24 brochures that talk about all the technology in the house and all of the reasons to be energy efficient and use renewable energy. I believe that Jamie and his team actually have credit for the concept of the reflective hat as they were trying to work the systems and get a little bit more power production.
We actually mentioned it as a joke, and then some people took the said in jest, and some of the designers took that and ran with it and made a fantastic takeaway. It was the best takeaway out there. Yep. As we walked around DC on our way to and from the hotel and to other events, you would see hats popping up in Eastern Market, around the Capitol building. The hats were everywhere across DC. It was fantastic to see. I think it was the best takeaway, hands down, in any solar decathlon ever. I think it was great.
Agreed. As far as impact, as far as people being excited to have them and to learn more about why we have reflective hats, huge impact.
And when I got out of the cab or off the bus and on 2 different days, I saw them everywhere. And these were children to adults, and they all that just caught their attention. So that was something to be proud of. So that was really your idea?
It was. Okay. It was said in jest. I said, well, if we want to have more sun, why not just have reflective hats? And it was taken by a few of the designers, folks like Chad Everhart, Chelsea Royal, and some of the others took it and really ran with the idea. And I actually got a text message several weeks later from Chad saying, here's an image, a sketch of some of the hats and what we might use, what we might say about them. And I was like, you're kidding, right? And he's like, no. So, but it turned out to be fantastic.
There were a lot of skeptical people on the team, including myself, but it took the collaboration between all the teams, between engineering, design, and communications, before we came up with a product that we were actually really proud of, and we thought would be very powerful and silly and fun.
Well, all the awards that are up here, all being very special, but the People's Choice Award. Tell us about that. How did you win that?
Yeah, the People's Choice Award is really, the way we thought of it was as the 11th contest. You know, all of the points in the decathlon revolve around the 10 different contests, but we saw the People's Choice Award as really a top prize to achieve, because it means if you win the People's Choice, it means you've accomplished what you've set out to do. And what we set out to do was to build a home that didn't require any sacrifice, you know, that the public could walk through and say, I can live here, this is comfortable, I can be energy efficient, I can use renewable energy. And the People's Choice Award is an affirmation of that. And we ran a great campaign, partnered with the state and the university to get the word out there about how important this was. And we also, you know, had people there on the National Mall who voted on their iPads and iPhones and really showed their support for what they thought was their favorite house. So.
No, I know there were ambassadors and other students going around campus. There were at blood drives as people waited in line. They were having them sign up, and it's pretty incredible to think there were whole countries being represented at the event. There was New Zealand, there was China, there was Belgium, there was Canada, and we actually beat all of those countries. We beat them in voting, which is pretty amazing when you consider China has almost half the world's population. It's pretty fantastic.
Yeah, it is. And I think that one of the ways we did that too was through a lot of community involvement. You know, there's been a lot of local sponsors who stepped up to help us out to make this project possible. We included a lot of people in our hat folding campaign. So a lot of people came out and really became part of the team and became invested in what we were trying to do. And so I think that paid off a lot for us as well.
The Appalachian community really stepped up to make all this happen, but it is something to be extremely proud of from the China, and even the team in Florida, where there were like 3 universities that went together, and so in North Carolina, there's only 1 school that was selected to participate. We were by ourselves, so you had the community of 3 universities in Florida, and the Appalachian State, friends, family, all pulled together and outvoted China. Florida, New Zealand, everybody.
New York, I mean, a lot of big competitors.
You look at a total of over 93,000 votes cast, and you think of Little Watauga County. Right. And it's amazing. It's amazing what Little Watauga County can do, that's for sure.
And we pulled it off.
Yep, absolutely.
To be very proud of. Well, what's next? I mean, you've been to Washington, you've done the Washington scene, and you get back and you have to get sort of reacquainted with family, because you all have dedicated so much of your life. It hadn't just been a job. It's so much of your life that you've put into this project. And now you can check that off. We've done that. The house is back here. It's been reassembled. And next week, of course, the governor of North Carolina is coming to the high country to get to see that house. And that's a big point of pride. But what's next for the house, or what's next for you, the creative, innovative type people that you are?
Well, the house itself, I believe we have hopes it will go to Raleigh in the spring. There are a few things being talked about, both with the Natural Science Museum and also with the American Institute of Architects branch in Raleigh. And so hopefully there's a place for it on the mall in Raleigh by the Capitol building. And we'll see. We'll wait for our winter to pass. The house is set up and all the systems are working. And so it's there ticking away, producing power and keeping itself warm. And so it's there for us to show off to people here through the winter. And then hopefully in the spring we'll move it out to Raleigh and it can stay there for the summer. And then we would like to have it back for further research projects with students and keep testing some of the novel systems. As far as future plans and future goals, we do have our eyes on Solar Decathlon Europe. And so it's a little bit much to jump right into the next U.S. Solar Decathlon. The proposal's due in about a week. And that would be Solar Decathlon 2013. The venue for that is unknown for the next U.S. Solar Decathlon. They're putting that up for grabs. It's not going to be the mall because we mentioned in the last show there were issues with the National Mall. And luckily we were back on, but it won't be in the National Mall. It won't probably will not be in DC next time. But we have our eye to take a little bit of a break. We're looking at Solar Decathlon Europe 2014. The proposal is due in April, and so we would go compete on an even larger world stage, assuming we're successful in the proposal writing, and take a new house overseas and compete in Spain.
Yeah, quite a big and a different task in a lot of ways. Thinking about taking a house 500 miles off the mountain is one thing, but across an ocean is definitely another task. So we'll be looking into that. And I want to expand on one thing that Jamie said too, is that we want the house to be educational. We built it, we created all this signage for it, and we want to share it with the public as much as possible. And we want our students and our graduate students to have access to it, to test all the systems that are in it, so that it wasn't just built for the competition. It has a long and useful life after that.
Other institutions that compete, when they get their house back, whether it's the Florida or anywhere else it's been, what do they do?
Yeah.
How do they use their homes then?
Teams have used their houses in a variety of different ways after the decathlon. There were 2 teams this year that actually donated their houses to Habitat for Humanity right around the DC area, which is extremely admirable. There is one team who has established a solar village, and they've taken all of their solar decathlon houses and spread them out, and they allow students to apply and go live there and experience living in a solar-powered house.
Several teams have sold their houses after the fact to help fund. It's quite an expensive project. It's a large undertaking. And New Zealand had a buyer for their house. The house was guaranteed even before the competition, and so it's being shipped back and it will be owned by a person in New Zealand. Cornell sold their house in the past. So there are lots of different avenues. A lot of times they do come back to campus as a point of pride to stay there and be lived in by students or visiting faculty. So I don't know where our house will end up in the long term, but it would be nice to have it. It would be nice to have it on campus.
Sure. And I certainly want to take a moment and express my appreciation to the sponsors that funded this, because Appalachian, like every other institution in America of higher education, this is not the time to take on projects that require funding like this. So we just had to take a step of faith and say, we're going to make this work somehow. And private donations made it happen. Lowe's was very supportive. They were our lead sponsor in providing funding as well as supplies. And we couldn't have done it without support like that. And many other foundations, organizations and individuals that stepped up to make it possible. So
absolutely. Without our sponsors, it couldn't have happened. We had a lot of great ideas. We had a lot of novel ideas. We had all the enthusiasm and commitment in the world, but without that financial and material support that we got from the sponsors across the state and our local sponsors too, a lot of people stepped up to help us out. It wouldn't have been possible. Additionally, there was a lot of faculty and staff and administration that made dinner for us, kept us fed, kept us energized to keep working on the decathlon, and many of us got taken into faculty's homes. So I've actually been staying with Cindy Wallace for the past month and a half or so. That's been a huge help and allowed people who have graduated to not have to sign leases for another year and have a warm bed to come home to at 2 in the morning.
It was such a huge array of people who donated time and effort. Dave mentioned the hat folding. The whole community came together for that. The People's Choice Award voting. And when you look at everything we did, we had several times when our site needed a cleanup before an important visitor, and facilities, the entire facilities group came out and helped us out. I mean, so it was such a broad base, and local sponsors, everyone from 3M, companies as large as 3M and as far spread as Minnesota, down to our local mountain lumber folks, who's really stepped up and helped us out. It's been it was really fantastic, and we could not have done it without our sponsors.
Absolutely.
You all referred to it. I think, Dave, you're the one. And Washington, not as just being a university project, not as being a community, but a family had formed here. There was a feeling to that. Talk to me about that. What do you mean?
Yeah. Well, when you've been working with people for 2 years on a project, and you've not slept for countless nights, countless all-nighters, and sometimes not showered too, and you've shared this collective vision, and you've shared this goal, and you've all stepped up to make it happen. I mean, I think when we got to the National Mall, we definitely were a family, and everybody watches out for each other, and if somebody's frustrated one day, you try to help them out, and they try to help you out too. So I think in many ways we were family, and I think that even larger than that, seeing everybody come up to Washington, D.C. from Boone and show their support. And when we got announced on that opening ceremony, and we had the loudest, most boisterous group of people cheering for Appalachian State, I mean, that really showed how big our family was and how close we were. So.
What about for future students? Jamie, what do you think with future students coming? Will they benefit from the project that has been done? Will they benefit from what you plan in the future? But
I would say they definitely, just by the virtue of getting us out there, Appalachian State, and seeing us shoulder to shoulder with universities like the University of Florida, universities like Maryland and Illinois, the Ohio State University, some huge universities that dwarf us and are listed at the top of the R1s, really to rub shoulders with those guys and compete head to head and show that we can compete with them is going to have a huge impact on the name, the cachet of Appalachian State University. And so for current students and for people who are graduating right now, it's definitely something to say, point out and say, look what we did. I think it's going to give a huge amount of name recognition for the university.
I think another benefit that students will have now and in the future is really developing these relationships that we've created with our sponsors and with a bunch of different companies who have been interested in the project. And we'll be testing new materials and new products for them, and students will have internships there. So I think there's a lot of benefits that will be coming down the road, and long-term benefits from this.
I know that the Cathletes on the mall walked away with stacks of business cards from people from potential employers, and that was great for them. But those will be ongoing relationships, especially after our students get hired and go into those companies. That will come back, and that will come back and continue to bring us and our students benefits in the future.
So potential employers, Dave, what's next?
I just accepted a job with Lowe's, actually,
you?
as of today. I mailed off my contract, so I'll be working on their renewable energy section and trying to really get the best and latest and most energy efficient products to the shelves, to consumers. So I'm really taking the mission of the Solar Homestead and magnifying it. I'm trying to show people the best ways to become energy efficient and incorporate renewable energy. So
Appalachian will have the legacy of having participated in this the first time ever. You all led it. You brought back lots of trophies, and we thank you very much for that. It's a huge success for Appalachian, a great point of pride, and always will be. So we thank you very much for your leadership, for the camaraderie, Jamie, that you built up with the other faculty members and the students that were involved in this. And Dave, thanks for your great participation in this and for letting us pick on you throughout the project.
Absolutely.
But you all did a magnificent job, and I can't imagine anybody doing a better job than what you did. And you spoke so well for Appalachian State, a great face for us. Thank you very much, and thanks for being on Appalachian Perspective.
Yeah. Well, thank you for all of your support.
For your support, definitely.
It meant a lot to us, and I look forward to seeing all the benefits that come long term from this project too.
I do too. I look forward to it. Thank you. Okay.